Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Julian and today we're going to be looking at the Tone King Royalist preamp. Okay guys, so here's the deal for this video. I'm going to be going straight to my Orange TH30. So this is not going to be straight to the DAW. Most of the videos that I've seen online have been going straight to the DAW. But that's kind of not what I'm looking for, guys. I actually wanted to like expand my my Orange channel or my Orange amplifier, or maybe get another amp, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if you're looking just for the tones of, that this pedal can give us, just go to the timeline and look for tones, and you don't have to listen to me talk over here of the reasons why I got it. But if you're interested in knowing, why, and if it may be right for you, then, let's talk about it a little bit. Okay, so the deal, guys, is that I was looking for a clean amp, right? Another clean amp, just to have more variety of clean tones, because I am a pedal guy. So I'm kind of always looking for pedal platforms. So a lot of times I'm not looking for a super high gain amp because I think I can get a lot of those gains from pedals. And most of the stuff that I tend to play nowadays with my band and just record tends to be a little bit more, not of the high gain, but I do love playing high gain, by the way. So kind of the reason why I got this, guys, is because I was kind of like, I had two options, right? I was gonna buy a Fender Deluxe Reverb used, right? But then what happens, guys, is I know myself. I already have an amp that I'm pretty happy with, which is Orange TH30. It has a great clean channel, right? It has a great overdriven channel. So the thing is that for amps, at least for me, when I have too many amps, I end up using just one amp. So I know that if I buy Deluxe Reverb, I'm just gonna stop using this one if I like the clean tone more. Again, because I'm a big pedal guy, so I use a lot of pedals. So kind of like, instead of thinking that, I thought like, okay, another option would be if I could, in a way, keep using this amp, which has, everything, tube. It has a tube preamp, tube power amp. It has even tubes on the effects loop, right? So it's like an old tube amp, which for me kind of gives me the tones that I like and that inspire me. Right, so when I saw this one, I actually saw the Imperialist, and I did get the Imperialist too. So I will also do videos on the Imperialist in the same way, and also straight through the DAW. But pretty much, kind of my whole idea was like, okay, if I get one of these pedals, and if it is true what they say about about these preamps, then I should be able to have like a lot more tones without really having to have more amps. And as I said before, with guitars and pedals, I can kind of switch them, but with amps, I tend to like stick to one thing. So I'm like, okay, I could get, instead of getting, again, a Fender amp, which is great, I could get, the Imperialist, which is pretty much like a Fender Deluxe sound with a different channel, which is pretty cool too, and we'll see that later on in another video. But I could also get a Plexi, and if you have seen my channel, I am a big fan of Marshall sounds. Even their clean sounds, I think, are pretty good. They're very different, but I think they're very good. And just like the higher gain tones, I love using them. I probably have like at least 10 different pedals that will kind of like create that Marshall sound, because I'm always, anytime I play high gain stuff or higher gain stuff or even overdrive stuff, that's kind of the sound I'm always thinking about. Right, so then what I did is say, okay, instead of getting the amp, I decided to get the Royalist and the Imperialist. And I thought like, if it didn't work out, then I could return them and just get the Fender. All right. So obviously, I think you guys can realize now that I kept this and I kept the Royalist too, because they work great, guys. Now, I've seen a lot of videos of people going straight to the DAW, but again, it's not what I'm interested in, because most of the time I do play through a real amp. It's not that I don't play plugins and stuff like that. I do, but what inspires me to play and what I really like and just give me the tone that I like is actually, playing through a real amp, especially if it's tube. But there's some non-tube amps that I think are actually pretty cool and kind of like give me this inspiration. Okay, so that is the whole deal, guys. So just wanted to give my options, and maybe someone out there might be kind of like in the same place. Maybe you already have a really good 2 amp and maybe you don't want to get another amp, but you could kind of expand your amp in a way, which is what these guys really do. And I don't think there's anything else like it that does it the way this does it. All right, guys, so for our tone check, I am going to be using my Nick Johnston Telecaster with a similar Duncan SH on the neck, and then with the Marshall Chopper T on the bridge, so it gives us a little bit of humbucker and single coil tones, just so we can see how it sounds with both of them. Now remember, very important guys, I am not going to my DAW. I'm going straight to my Orange TH30, which is going on the FX loop, or the FX loop actually of the Royalist is going into the TH30, kind of giving me 4 channels, right? So I have the 2 channels on the Royalist, and then the 2 channels on the Orange TH30. Now on the Orange, I'll just use the clean channel as a reference, so you guys can see what it sounds like. But the whole idea is that it's all analog, being mic with an SM57 right here with this PPC-112 with a Greenback speaker, right? So that's kind of the whole deal, right? So the first thing I want to show you guys is, let's go ahead and just see what the Orange TH30 sounds by itself, right? So this is the clean channel of the TH30. Alright, so that's our clean tone, or the clean tone for this. Now if we turn on, let's say, our 3rd channel, which would be right here on the Royalist, guys, I'm going to turn it on, and I have it kind of like on a clean setting right now. Alright, so as a reference, guys, it sounds just, you know, again, it doesn't sound less tubey in a way, right? That's one of the things I was worried about. It's like, is my clean channel on my TH30 going to sound very like tubey-like, and then is the Royalist going to sound not tube-like in a way, right? Kind of like solid state, but I guess it's the tubes in this thing, and we'll talk about that at the end. But I'm getting like just the same type of character, or not character, but the same type of like tube sound, but just a different character, right? Which is obviously more of a Plexi kind of thing, right? So one more time, here is Orange TH30. Here is the Royalist. Right, so obviously, you know, it's like a different channel, right, for a different voice pretty much. So what I can already say is that obviously the Orange has a very particular kind of like boxy kind of clean, while the Royalist has like a Marshall Plexi kind of clean, right? Right now I don't have anything on, no compression, no anything, right? We're just listening pretty much to the tone. Alright, so we're gonna do pretty much kind of like low to high gain. Now for the lower tones, even though we have 2 channels that are pretty much the same, like they say they're a little bit different, but they're pretty much the same, guys. Notice the difference. So we're gonna get kind of like our cleanish tones and our overdriven tones, I guess, from channel 1, and then we're gonna kind of go for more like, you know, higher gain stuff, or the more high gain stuff, I guess, on the channel number 2. Right now, as you can see, guys, just so you can see the layout, I have my volume pretty low, and my attenuator is just to match the TH30 clean channel. I have it around here. Very useful, by the way. I'm not going to use the reverb yet, but we'll use it in a second. I have my fat tone down, and I'm actually using the 1964 mode for my cleans, because that's going to give me the cleaner sound. All right, and this is what we have as it is, right? I kind of have almost everything around 12 o'clock, maybe the treble a little bit less, because it can be a little bit spiky because of the Marshall type of sound it has, right? Alright, let's go into our middle position, guys. And let's go into our bridge. Right, so obviously guys, on the bridge position is pushing it into overdrive already. Now, one of the things that I was wondering before I bought this pedal is, can I get a clean sound? And to be honest guys, it's not gonna be like a Fender's type of clean, in the sense that it's not gonna be as clean. It's gonna be pretty, already kind of like a little bit broken up. Right now, super broken up, but you know, here if I have it on my neck, I wouldn't say that's squeaky clean. Okay, I would say it's like cleanish, right? So if you're looking for like a super clean platform, like just no drive at all, just very clean, then you know the Royalist maybe might not get there. Now again, it depends on what you're looking for. Now one thing that we can do guys is that we can roll our volume off a little bit to just push it a little bit less. And to me, that sounds very clean, right? So that's an option. Now, if you're using humbuckers, then obviously, you know, just make sure that you have a tone knob, a volume knob, that when you turn it down, you don't lose a lot of high end, right? But yeah, you know, this is pretty nice clean, right? And if I put my volume all the way up, so you know, again, you know, it has a nice clean tone. Now, if I add compression, and most of the time when I have a clean sound, I will use compression. You know, again, sounds really nice, and I do think compression tames down a little bit of that overdrive that it has. Compression, no compression, right? By the way, I'm using a barber tone press for that compression. Again, on our middle. On our bridge. Right, since we're on our clean tones, and then again, I did want to spend a little bit of time on the cleanish kind of tones, because most people go to like kind of like the more high gain rock stuff, which is gonna do amazingly well. But I'm just trying to show a little bit of what I wanted to see. Now, a bunch of the videos that I seen, they spend like 1 second on the cleaner stuff, and then they go full gain. So we'll see what kind of tones we can get with that. So let's see then our reverb, which again I think is great, and I love that they kind of put it in the pedal, because then that can give me a little bit more space on my board. So now I can take my reverb pedal, and since the reverb on the Royalist is pretty good, then in a way I'm not missing my reverb pedal. I just use that as now my reverb. By the way, everything that is time-based is going pretty much as kind of like in the loop of the Royalist, which means in a way is in the loop of the Royalist and in the loop of the Orange TH30. So we're kind of treating it as like, my time-based effects are after, right? All my distorted effects, just because I think it gets like a little bit of a cleaner, more polished sound. Right now, let's turn on our reverb. So we'll press this button right here, guys. And there we have our reverb. Now on this one, by the way, I also got the Tone King Imperial along with this one. and you know, they both have really good reverbs. On this one we have a little bit less flexibility, it's just the reverb kind of mixed pretty much up or down. So with the mix at 0, nothing, right? Mix at the max, right? Super, like, you know, far out there. Obviously, I don't think most people will use it there. So let's, you know, put it like at a usable setting, kind of like around a little bit more than 2. Let's put it around 4. There, obviously a bit more trail. Actually, it's kind of like I don't know what kind of rear it is, by the way, but it's really nice just to like add a little bit. You know, if you're going straight to the DAW, sounds great. But also with an amp, it can sound pretty dry without it, right? So it just gives it a little bit more dimension. Alright, let's do a little bit more just so you guys can see how much reverb we have here. Alright, that for me would be a little bit too much unless I'm doing something kind of like ambient, right? With a delay, I don't have a delay on this board right now, but I'll get one soon. But you know, again, with a delay, this would give a nice ambient sound. Then if I put it somewhere on like that's like 8 on the knob numbers, by the way, not on the clock, right? That's a little bit too much for me. Right, so now let's see, guys, how much gain we can get, right? I'm gonna kind of keep everything off on the pedal board, even though compression, which I usually always tend to have compression, I'll just keep a little bit of reverb for now. Right, and let's just see, guys, the fat knob. It's very subtle, guys, so subtle that it's barely audible. I mean, in a mix or something like that, definitely won't hear it, even without anything on. You know, you don't really get, it gets a little bit fatter, but it's actually almost nothing really. I kind of think it doesn't really do much, in my opinion at least. Maybe if you're using a very thin guitar. Alright, now let's see. Let's go a little bit then higher in gain, guys. I'm going to keep kind of everything as it is. I'm going to keep it in 1964 mode for this one. For the other one, we'll check out for the other channel, for the higher gain stuff, then we'll check out the different eras, I guess. So now I'm going to put it around 3. I'm going to attenuate it a little bit. Alright, I'm going to take away some of that reverb. Alright, so here we got a little bit of like a overdriven now. Maybe a bit more. Okay, so I have it around 4, so this is how much gain we have. We got a nice martially, you know, kind of like overdriven tone. So nice overdriven kind of thing, right? And still not, I'm not adding that much gain because I'm in the 1964 mode, right? So now let's take it a little bit, what's that, like around 6 o'clock. Let's see what we have. That's adding more volume, so I gotta, again, attenuate it. Right, that's too much. We're gonna have to keep it there. Right, that's on my neck. Right, starting to get into crunch territory. Check it out on the bridge of the guitar. Now I'm gonna take away the reverb, just so we can kind of hear how much gain we can have clearly. Now here I think is a good place to kind of see our different eras, right? We had 1964. We got 1967. Not sure if YouTube is gonna translate this, but pretty much a little bit more aggressive, right? As you go up in the eras, a little bit more punch in a way. So for cleans, maybe not that good, but for more rocky stuff, then yeah. And then 1970. Back to 1964. Right? Actually, I like the 1964 for this type of tones. It's like a little bit more open. Right, now let's put it up at 8. Right, definitely pushing a lot more, right? If I do more attenuation, that's gonna be a little bit too quiet. That's the only one thing I don't like, the attenuation. It's not kind of like, you know, it goes by like little, what's that called, right? It's like a clock where it doesn't let you go exactly where you need it. So if I want a little bit less, I have to jump back to the last position. Not unlike in the Imperialist, you can actually fine tune it a little bit more. So that's the only thing that maybe kind of sucks a little bit. All right, and let's do full on channel 1. All right, and then just kind of to see our tone knobs, right? Let's do a middle, like let's scoop it. Gets a little bit fuzzy, right? Obviously, loses a lot of like, it's mid, obviously. All right, now let's put middle kind of almost all the way through. So that's kind of channel 1, guys. Again, for like the overdriven and cleaner stuff, that 1960 setting is my favorite. All right, now let's kind of put it back in this place, kind of where we started. So this is our starting tone. I have to take away some of the attenuation. Again, I do think it's a really nice clean tone. Now, is it a Fender's kind of tone? No, but it's a different character. Depends on what you like. But I would use it just as much as I could use the TH30 clean channel or the Imperialist. Right? Yeah, the Imperialist clean channel. All right, so now let's go to channel 2. Here's where we're gonna go more into like a more high gain kind of stuff. All right, so just press this button right here. It takes you to channel 2. Let's take our reverb off. Wait, it is already off. All right, and then guys, by the way, this is how I have it set up as I like to use it, just so you can see kind of like the tone that you can get with this. Max gain. Alright, that's an awesome Plexi sound, guys. I mean, I do have to say that I'm liking this pedal probably more than any other pedal that I have for this type of tone. Alright, and it does sound, it just gives me like the Marshall sound on my amp, right? So it feels like I'm playing a Marshall Plexi amp. And maybe not like maybe a pedal which can be a little bit different in character. And tuning it or getting your tones is so freaking easy with this thing. That's what I like the most. Easier than I, for example, have the Land 68, the UA pedal, and that pedal is also really good. I like this one more, I gotta be honest, especially if I'm playing it along with my real amp. But you know, getting the tones on the Land 68 can be a little bit tricky. Well, on the Royalist, it's just like, it's like a real amp. You just move the knobs and you get the tones you want. So it does make it a lot easier. Okay, so, but let's see, guys. So let's say that we're going for like, kind of like a crunchy kind of sound. Now, again, I'm gonna keep it now on the 1970 mode. All right, I have a lot of mids because when I'm using high gain, I like to put my mids pretty high. All right, and let's see what we get. Let's do our neck. Okay, so I am a pedal guy. I love pedals, so I will use pedals along with this, and I'll do a whole separate video how it can, like, you know, work with my pedals, because I will use both channels with pedals, and actually gives me a lot of different options, guys. Now let's kind of turn the gain more, because we're going for more of a high gain tone here. Now you notice that I have my bass kind of low because it can get a little bit fluffy with this amp, at least, right? You're using the power amp on the TH30, but here's what we have, guys. Again, that attenuator, I wish you had like a midpoint between those two. Alright guys, let's now, I guess this is a good place to scoop our mids. And mids pretty much all the way up as I like him. Guys, that is a great tone. I love the mid tone of Marshall. They're just, again, perfect for me. Okay, now let's see if we add a lot of bass. Check it out. I don't know if it's gonna translate on the recording, but on the room, you know, you can hear the bass kind of rumble around, which is nice if you're playing by yourself. But if you're playing a mix or with a band, or even on a recording, it's gonna be too much bass. It's gonna kind of muffle things up. All right, guys, let's take it to 8. As you can hear, here's where we start getting to me. We get our highest kind of gain. Check out the treble all the way up. You know, with Marshalls, when you put, you know, when you push them a lot, those trebles, they don't become as kind of like as ear piercing and annoying as when you're having the lower gain sound. So maybe on a higher gain setting, I'll add a lot more treble. Let's change the attenuator, might get a little bit louder. Yeah, it does get way louder with the attenuation, just one click less. All right, and let's go full on gain, guys. My neck. Let's see how it cleans up, guys. All right, full volume. Our bridge. Now let's do the fat knob, guys. Without the fat knob. Actually, the fat knob actually kind of tightens things up, which is kind of weird on the high gain tone. I hear a little bit more than when I'm doing clean tones. All right, and one last thing that I'm gonna do, guys, before that's pretty much all the tones we can get. So again, amazing, guys. It sounds really good. I'll talk more at the end, but this is a great pedal. I was kind of having a little bit of buyer's remorse because it is expensive, and same thing with the Imperialist. But once I got them and I heard them, I was like, yeah, this thing is like, say, freaking having another amp. So now I turn my 2-channel amp into 4 channels, or maybe a lot of times I'll use my Orange Rocker 15, and that has, usually I use the clean channel on that, but I can turn that now into a 3-channel amp, having a lot of flavors, which is a good option. Again, I don't want to overdo it, but 3 channels is, I think, actually kind of like the sweet spot. Okay, guys, so what I'm gonna do, guys, is that I'm gonna actually do the usual super Boss SD1, right, super overdrive or tube screamer. I'm gonna kind of like put all the level, no drive, and we'll put the tone kind of halfway. Now I know on the pedal view you don't see it, but we'll just see how much you can push the amp, right? So here's without. On the bridge. Now I turn that on. Without. So definitely, guys, gives it that push, makes it like tighter. Again, it depends on what you're going for, right? But if you want to get like a tight, not, I wouldn't say like super metal, mesa boogie kind of thing, not like that, but like kind of like a high gain tone. Even thought with the right pedals, you could make this super high gain, right? But just makes it a lot tighter. Alright, guys, so now we heard the tones, guys. Let me know what you thought. As always, on YouTube things can translate a little bit different, so I'll obviously watch the video after I edit it, but I don't have anything edited yet. But what I can already tell you guys is that by far, this is my favorite, let's say, I don't know if this is considered like a 2 amp, or is it like a modeler? I'm guessing because it has tubes and it is a preamp, right? I'm guessing it is like an amplifier, right? But you know, it is in the format of like a modeler in a way. Now, I was a little bit skeptical because usually every time I have fallen for pretty much every modeler that has come here. I got the XFX, I had gotten the, what's it called? The Camper, right? HJ Stone, which I still use for effects, but I used to, in the beginning, I bought it for like, you know, the whole kind of like amp kind of thing. The only one I haven't tried is maybe the Quad Cortex, because again, after trying so many, it just doesn't call my attention anymore. I know they all sound great. I know they sound great, but for me, it's a lot about feel. How do they feel to play? You know, how do they inspire me to play? And I just find out that for me, it just has to be like a cab and an amp behind me, or like that I'm listening to. It just gives me that extra inspiration, right? And the thing with this, guys, is that, you know, I've been running my UAFX pedals through my amp, and they sound amp-like, but they're like, there's like a little bit of stuff, especially on the high end and on the low end, that makes it not sound completely amp-like. With this one, guys, I am surprised because it's the best, or not the best, sorry, the first time I bought a product that is not an amp, that when I put it through my amp, sounds like an actual amp, right? So this guy sounds like a real amp. Like I could not discern. Obviously, there's a different character when I use this than when I use my Orange TH30 clean or dirty channel. There's a different type of character because it's a different amp, different frequencies and stuff like that. But the feel, right? The sound itself, the quality of sound, it is an amp, right? This, guys, when you plug it into your amp, it's gonna sound like an amp. It's not gonna sound like a model through an amp, which is the first time that has happened. Also, guys, before we talked about like, you know, the conveniences and why I like it so much. Also, guys, when I plug it straight to my DAW, which is when I first got it, I was traveling for 2 weeks, so I could only plug it straight to my DAW. I didn't have my amp with me. And it ends up being super easy to dial in a clean tone on the UFX pedals, which are really good, by the way. I'm not bashing on them. I think they're awesome, right? But on those pedals, I always had to use a lot of EQ because there was like a lot of fizziness in the high end. On the low end, I had to cut things because I had too much low end, right? But with this one, guys, I plug it to my DAW. It does already have like a little, you know, high and low end cut. I just put those. It doesn't even tell you what frequencies, but I just put those on, turn those on, and it's on the perfect. Like, so getting a tone, a good tone, or like a real 2 amp tone, I guess we could say, has never been easier than with this one. Usually there is a little bit of like a, you know, learning curve, you know, working with frequencies, and you can get there. That's the thing, guys. Modelers do sound as good as 2 amps. They do sound the same. For me, again, it's not about just the sound. For me, it's how do they feel? How do they inspire me? Which is why I went back to 2 amps after trying all the modelers and, you know, gigging with them and recording with them, right? So, you know, that's just my take on that. So that already, guys, for me has impressed me. Very, very impressed with this one and the Royalist, which I'll do a video on. Now, guys, as far as sounds, it gives you a lot of sounds. Again, at least for me, I'm only going to choose 2, but it gives me what I need. On the cleans, depends on what you like. It will not give you a sparkly, super clean, right? But with your volume knob, you can get a really nice clean. Now, I do prefer the cleans on the Royalist, and I do think they're a little bit more pedal friendly because, again, on the circuits. But, you know, the whole idea is that I have like a different, I had 2 boards that I always have 2 boards. One for, you know, depending on what I play with my cover bands. Sometimes we'll have like a rock gig, right? You know, and only like higher gain sounds. Other times we'll have like, you know, a gig where we might do things that are a lot lower in gain, right? So I always have like 2 pedal boards, one for like the more high gain rock stuff, one for the other stuff. They can kind of like also overlay a little bit, right? But then this one is kind of like my rock one, so I don't need a super spiking clean sound. Even though with the compressor and again the volume of my guitar, it gets a really good clean. It's just never gonna be sparky clean, and that's one of the things I wanted to hear in a video. And people would say it's a great clean, but they wouldn't compare it to other things. So if you're looking for a super clean, amazing Fenders kind of clean, definitely go for the Imperialist, right? This one's a really good Marshall with a little bit of like grit kind of clean. It's a different type of thing, but it sounds good. But it's not gonna be your sparky clean, okay? Not your Fender thing. All right, now as far as the other tones, guys, something that has impressed me. And again, I know this is a long video. I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to like give as much info as I could because I have many questions from videos that I've seen that I kind of want to answer. So hopefully this can help somebody out if you're kind of looking at this. And let me know if I didn't answer any of your questions. All right, but guys, the attenuator. great. I mean, they work that out perfectly. Usually attenuators, what they do is that they will kind of kill your high end, right? The more you use them. Over here, it doesn't matter where you put it, right? It keeps the same tone, it's just at a lower volume. One thing that I did not like about the attenuator, guys, is that it has like a, it's not like in the Imperialist. In the Imperialist, you're kind of like free to put exactly where you want. This one has like little jumps, right? So it's not that I can put it in between those jumps. I have to always jump to like the next click, right? And what's happening is that every once in a while, when I was trying to match volumes, I needed a little bit more or a little bit less, and it just wouldn't give me like that middle ground. But again, it's not a big deal because usually you can kind of like play that out, with the volume of your amp and just kind of like find like the sweet spot, which is not going to be that different. It's just turning it a little bit less or more. So that's the one thing with the attenuator, but it's great. Right now, as far as guys, as the different models they give you, I think it's great that they give you like 3 different eras or 3 different tones. Think of it as this way. The lower the year, the more open the sound, the less distortion. The higher the year, the tighter and the more gain. That's pretty much how you want to look at it. So again, for my cleans, I'm using the 1960. It's big and open, right? Sounds great. For like my high gain channel, or like I guess not high gain, but the channels with the most gain, which gives you that amazing plexi tone, by the way. I'll just have I'll use it on the 1970 again because of what I want. Now, question, guys, and I will do a video on this. How does it take pedals? It does it really good, but when you have a lot of gain, especially on channel 2, where it's my gain channel, when we have a lot of gain, guys, some of the pedals will get very fuzzy. So you have to play a little bit around, and it's not going to take every pedal gray, right? Because of that, because there's already a lot of gain on this. So when you're adding gain to gain, you got to be careful what works and what doesn't. So I'll do a video on the pedals that I put on this board that work really good with this. But you can get a very high gain tone, as I showed at the end of the tones, with any kind of tube screen. It gets tight, it gets punchy, which is what I love about Plexis. They're just so direct, right? So as far as tones, guys, I guess last thing before we end this video is that as far as the tones, the low and high end of, or highs, lows and highs, I guess overall, of modelers, they just have this thing that is not like natural, or what I consider natural, like 2 amp like. And that's something that I could always hear. For example, on the UFX stuff, it sounds great. It actually feels really good too. Not as good as this, but I always get like, especially on the low end, more than the high end. It's like there's this thing that is not like as natural as I'm used to with a real amp. With this one, guys, again, feels exactly and sounds exactly like an amp. Like there is no difference. You close your eyes or you play with your eyes closed and you can kind of feel that response that you get from an amp. Okay, so I'm really happy with it, guys. That is kind of like my end on my overall opinion, is that I really love these things. They're easy to carry. So now again, I have many amps that I take to gig depending on how big the gig is. This one usually stays home, but I have an Orange Rocker 15, which is kind of the one that I take. But a lot of times, maybe if I want like some nice cleans, it won't give me the kind of clean I want, because Orange cleans, well, unless you're using a TH30, but the other cleans are usually a little bit not in the neutral side. So I feel that it lacks a little bit of high end usually. All right, but then again, with something like this, then that amp turns now into a 3-channel amp. I have a really good clean. I have the Orange clean if I want something that gives me that tone, and I have my overdrive channel. And then with pedals, it's like I have as many options as I want. So it's easy to use, guys. Easy to use, sounds wonderful. So in reality, guys, I'm actually very happy with this, and we will be seeing a lot of this in my upcoming videos. This and Imperialist, and obviously, of course, my Orange TH30, which I love that amp. So again, guys, hopefully it helps people that are maybe like thinking about it or wondering. Hopefully answers the questions. Again, I did a lot of tones on the clean stuff because I saw most of the people went straight for the drives, which are great, but the clean stuff is also great. So hopefully, that gives you some idea and helps you guys out. Remember, I'm not affiliated with Tone King or anybody at all, really. So that is my own money, and I'm just giving you my thoughts. If you're looking for like, again, some really good tones, specifically obviously like a Plexi kind of thing or a Fender Deluxe kind of thing, then those Imperialist preamps are really amazing. So far, the best yet. Even if you did it side by side with a real amp, I don't know how that would sound. Maybe the amp is always gonna have a little bit of the edge, but it's already close enough with any modeler. With these guys, just like put them, I guess maybe they close the gap. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. Maybe they'll come out in a year with like the new they'll add more tubes. I don't know. But what I can say is that it sounds like an amp, feels like an amp, and now I have a Plexi, which I've been wanting one forever. It's been years since I played one, and now I have a Plexi that I can get exactly the Plexi sound that at least I remember having. So that's kind of it for today, guys. Hopefully it helps. See you next time.